Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Watching the Boxes Fantasy Basketball Podcast, presented by #basketball.com. I'm your host, Mike Catron, and joining me, as always, is my co-host, Tyler Watts. What's up, Tyler?
Oh, Mike, it has been a good day.
It's been a good day. Really? Why is that?
Because have you checked the Watching the Boxers Listener League?
No, I decided to take, since there were so few games tonight, I decided to depress myself and continue watching Ken Burns Vietnam this evening instead of watching fancy basketball. A little negligent on my part when it comes to fancy basketball today.
All right, dog rumble down. We're good to go now.
No worries. I figured that was what was going on. I figured something was going on. I'll just pick back up that I basically I was negligent on my fancy duties. Is the last thing I said.
I heard part of that.
I was watching Ken Burns Vietnam, and I was negligent on fantasy today.
All right, well,
So
I'll just pick up. Go ahead and just.
yeah, I was negligent on my fantasy watching today.
That's good.
So go ahead and.
I don't know how long you wanted the pause to be. I was counting to 10. I got to 9, and then you talked. All right, so I rode the back of the great Kyle Anderson, Mike, to take.
Oh my gosh!
To take the lead in our matchup.
So it was 5-4. The champion, the guy in first place, me, over Tyler, going into tonight, and you had one guy play, and for some reason, Kyle Anderson had the game of his life, and you barely snuck ahead, and now it's 5-4 you.
You know I picked up Kyle Anderson though, right? He's been getting like 7 rebounds a game, and we talked about this yesterday, right? I'm trying to win that rebounds. He got his 7, 4 assists, pulled me ahead in that category, and I feel like I'm taking you out this week. What do you think about that?
You called your shot. You said you're going to get Kyle Anderson. Just going to remind you that it is There's still 3 days left in this week, and there
Oh
are
no,
plenty of games to be
my
played.
matchups end on Thursday. That's just how it works in this league. I
Weird, because
changed.
Yahoo does. I don't think Yahoo works that way.
I'm gonna put a pause on your team, lock your roster, so you can't change it.
I think that would be the only way you would actually end up winning, is if you could do that.
Oh, I got you. No worries at all, Mike. You are losing your mind.
Nah, there's no possible way. I
I'm gonna
think you
drop
beat
like
me.
50 on the Cavs tomorrow, and I'm gonna be way ahead.
Jimmy Butler is just starting to get hot, and Anthony Davis is just gonna you can't let DeMarcus show him up like that after DeMarcus's big night. The other night, Anthony Davis is gonna go off for sure.
Is it me, or are they like a great defensive team against centers? Like they crushed Karl Anthony Towns.
I mean, I think it's pretty easy. They just both show up. They just go, yeah, feel free to try to get through me or Anthony Davis. Good luck.
Well, and it makes the other man use his foul so quickly that like a lot of guys are getting in foul trouble because you can't guard both of those maniacs.
No, I think that's the real key right there is the foul trouble. But I mean, Boogie is huge, is enormous, and Anthony Davis isn't just long and athletic. So I don't know if anyone can really go against one of them, let alone two of them.
Yeah, no. So that could be something to watch, right? If you have your big man going against the Pelicans, be it Hassan Whiteside, be it Karl Anthony Towns, you might want to expect a somewhat subpar game.
Yeah, it's pretty surprising actually that we're talking about the top tier centers, like Karl Anthony Towns having a bad night against the Pelicans. What do you think this Saturday Robin Lopez is going to do against the Pelicans?
Oh God! I mean, he is the top of the top tier, right? So I mean, he's probably taking out the Pelicans.
I think Robin Lopez single-handedly wins the game, and the Bulls go on to not get a lottery or not get a top 3 pick.
So did you hear this Hoiberg quote where he's gonna let Portis right back in the rotation? How much crap is that?
That's pretty shocking, but
It's
actually going to talk about
pretty
this.
terrible, awful.
Well, no one's trying to act like Fred Hoiberg is a good coach or anything like that. But I'm actually going in a little bit different direction because all of the reactions from the players, not the coaching staff, not the front office, but the players, seems to have been very corporate, yeah, Bobby shouldn't have punched him. Yeah, Bobby shouldn't have punched him. Yeah, Bobby shouldn't have punched him. Nothing else. No, like, Nico's my boy. I went and visited him. I went and talked to Nico, blah, 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 all this other stuff. None of that. And I'm thinking something legit might have happened here where Nico, I'm all against Bobby Portis, and I would like to get rid of Bobby Portis, and I'm all on Team Nico. Unless it comes out that Nico, said some vile shit or did some vile shit to Bobby Portis to warrant getting punched in the face, and which I've said before on this podcast, I don't think there's much you could do except for a very small group of things to warrant getting cold cocked in the face to get put in the hospital. And that's why I'm still out on Bobby Portis. But the fact that he's just going to move back right in the rotation does shock me enough to think like something maybe happened.
When it didn't look like he was in the rotation at all, right? So you punch the man who was probably ahead of you in the rotation and actually going to get minutes, and you weren't to get minutes. I mean, that just makes it look so much worse for the organization. Now, you're right. Maybe Mirotic slept with his woman, or I mean, you never know, right?
We're never going to
know that part of the story, but
it's the Bill Simmons theory that it's always about gambling or women.
It probably was.
One of the two.
You never know. It just seemed crazy to me. And
Nico looks like he likes both.
So I am not excited about Mr. Bobby Portis being in the rotation myself.
No, I'm not either. I don't want to see any significant time taken away from Lauri Markkanen's development, and I don't want to see his development with Bobby Portis. I don't want to see Lauri Markkanen play with anybody other than Chris Dunn. No one else on that team is going to last longer than a year. Oh, never mind. Campaign did get re-signed, so Campaign will last until next season for sure. But no one's going to be on that team.
Man, Cameron Payne.
That guy is a trash person, and he should not be playing basketball.
The best thing he's done is a handshake with Russell Westbrook in the NBA. That's what's funny.
That was like 4 years ago. He's still riding high on that.
Dude, sometimes handshakes last forever, man.
He's like Kid Cudi, still touring off that album 12 freaking years ago.
Hey, man, whatever works for you. You got to make your millions somehow.
I guess you're right, because he's going to make like $3.2 freaking million for being worse than everyone else in the league. It's amazing. So let's actually get into some not breaking news, but some of the news around the fantasy world from over the last 24 hours, 48 hours, and a couple of interesting things. Nothing too revolutionary, right? But there were a few announcements of players coming back, and including a player that people are very hopeful in coming back, because really there was no timeline, no word out of Spurs camp, and Kawhi Leonard. Pop is hopeful that Kawhi Leonard will be returning in 3 weeks. Is that good news to you, or are you still super skeptical about what's happening in San Antonio?
Oh, man, my skepticism level has reached an all-time high. Anytime anyone says I'm hopeful, that probably means 3 weeks if something unexpected happens. I'm thinking we're probably looking at least a month. More of no Kawhi Leonard, which stinks if you picked him in the top, 7, 8.
Yeah, I mean, I stand by my pre-season statement that, taking him outside of the first round was a mistake, and that's because there was just no news. If that video of him limping into the airplane came out before the season, well, then I would have changed my mind real quick. And
I was with you, but my hesitancy was when he said
he's going to miss a game. One game is what they said.
And everyone saw it, right? I balked in the listener league at taking him. And my hesitancy came from the fact that they said this was an injury from last season, and he had all off season to rest and heal it. And then he was still going to miss the whole preseason. And it just didn't sound good. Now, I mean, the preseason was a whole month. So, how long does an injury take? That was the question. And so it seemed like it was still good. But every time in a draft, right, if he was there at like pick 8, pick 9, I always went with somebody else. I went with John Wall. I went with Chris Paul. I went with Jokic. I went with somebody over him just because I was like, man, I don't know.
I guess the red flag was that it wasn't a new injury. It was the injury from the playoffs.
Yeah, right? So he had how many months to heal it?
Yeah, that's
6?
the red flag there. And not even playing one preseason game, that should have been another red flag. But personally, I'm just not used to NBA teams. This happens in hockey where they don't even report the injury, or in the NFL where they, play fast and loose with, he's probable, he's questionable, he's maybe, I don't know. The NBA usually doesn't pull that crap.
Oh, man, Pop pulled another dirty move tonight, too, by changing the starting lineup. And, even the PA announcer didn't announce it.
See, Pop's just
he's just being dirty old man.
He's light years ahead of everybody.
Yeah, man, he's just pulling all the stops, I guess.
So if there's probably only a couple, maybe a week more, where if people haven't seen that particular tweet or didn't watch the Spurs game tonight and they own Kawhi Leonard and they're getting real fed up, this might be the last time you can buy low on Kawhi Leonard, because I still think if he's going to come back and he's going to play the second half of the season, he is still going to be a top 10 potential guy.
All right. Let's see who Mike, if guy, and he wanted Kawhi Leonard in a 1-for-1 trade. Let's see who Mike would trade away.
Let's all right, let's do it. Let's play who
you own
Kawhi Leonard 1-on-1 right now at this point of this early November season, the game.
You own Miles Turner. Would you trade away for Mr. Kawhi Leonard?
I'm worried about that Miles Turner concussion. Is he okay? Like he's been
Well,
out for
he's
weeks with
he's
that concussion.
finally doubtful for tomorrow's game instead of out. So that's a
So
positive sign that he's actually finally been listed as something other than out on the day before the game.
so one like a concussion, maybe it shouldn't. People are saying like, why is he out so long for a concussion? But number two, if a concussion is severe enough,
And it's not
and if it gets re-aggravated, that can
right.
that could affect Miles Turner for months.
Yes, it's not a linear progression with a concussion, right? Like
No.
with a broken bone, it gets a little more healed and healed every day. You can have symptoms for weeks and then not have symptoms for a couple of days, do some activity, get the symptoms back, and basically restart the whole process over with that new concussion protocol and all that stuff. So,
Oh, yeah. And even like a minor kind of hit to the head can re-aggravate it into, a more severe concussion because you're still recovering from the last one.
yeah. So, I mean, and I wouldn't say any concussion, right? It's minor, like they're all pretty serious, even if you don't miss that much time. So, I mean, it's always kind of worrying anytime anyone gets a concussion.
Yeah, I respect the NBA taking a real actual policy on concussions, unlike a certain other league who doesn't seem to care about the well-being of their players or paying them guaranteed contracts. Huh.
All right, you stalled enough. Who do you want? Let's go.
I think I'm gonna. Ooh, this is a tough one. I think this is right around the wheelhouse. I think I still like Miles Turner. I think Miles Turner could have a really good year this year. Um, if Kawhi Leonard isn't going to be back for another month or so, and then it's going to take him another month to get back into playing shape, and then it's going to take him another month to get back into top 10, type caliber player. That's a very, very long time. While Miles Turner could be a top 15 player for that entire length of time.
All right, I'll buy that.
I'm taking Miles Turner.
Paul Millsap or Kawhi Leonard.
Oh, Kawhi Leonard.
Al Horford or Kawhi Leonard.
Kawhi Leonard.
All right, I'm gonna up the game a little bit here.
Uh-oh.
C.J. McCollum or Kawhi Leonard.
Ooh. Well, it'd have to depend on what else I have in my roster, as always, for all of these things. But in a vacuum, I think I'm going Kawhi Leonard.
Okay, so I mean we're talking right there in somewhere in that second to third round range, right? And that's still a high price to buy someone who maybe is back in 3 weeks, right? And so I mean we talk about sometimes buying low on people, and I mean that's a nice value, right? We said in the beginning of the season, Kawhi Leonard's probably in that top 8 pretty firmly once he gets fully back to health. So that's a nice little discount, but that's still a lot to give up. And I think some guys might, I mean, like pick a hot player and try to trade him off for Kawhi Leonard. Maybe a Marc Gasol who's been playing good, right? Maybe you can make that deal. Maybe you can make, I mean, just look for someone hot. I mean, Ricky Rubio. If you can trade Ricky Rubio for Kawhi Leonard, now obviously you got to know you're giving up big assists. But
yeah, Otto Porter's been hot. I think that's a no-brainer. Victor Oladipo's been hot. I think you'd much rather have Kawhi Leonard than Victor Oladipo.
That's what I mean. Just try to capitalize on a hot start maybe and get Kawhi Leonard and just hope he comes back and he's awesome for you. And that's a good way to win your league right there.
Yeah. A lot of people don't look at the long term. They look at the short term. They look at how what they're doing with their weeks, how they're winning their weeks. And if you've got Kawhi Leonard and you're just struggling, you're 0-3 right now, most likely. And or you're at the bottom, whatever, you're like 3-8 and whatever the numbers are these days. I don't even know what week it is anymore. But you're at the bottom half of your league, or maybe even real close to the bottom. You just want to get some wins in there. So if your team's doing pretty well, you could really push yourself over the top with that trade.
I'm with you there.
Some other news around the league. Rajon Rondo is targeting a November 17th return, which means the collective value of everyone playing on the Pelicans is about to go down.
Yeah. So the question is, right, if Rondo's on your waivers, which he is in about half of Yahoo leagues, is today the day you pick him up?
you're gonna have to roster him for a whole basically 2 weeks. I don't think so. I think I'd wait till about halfway through next week. Depending on the size of the league, if I'm in a standard league and I really need assists, then maybe I pull the trigger a little bit sooner, maybe the next by the end of this week to make sure I won this week. But I'd rather wait till the middle of next week where I can, adjust accordingly to, like we talked about in the last episode when we talked about head-to-head strategy, which everybody should go check out and listen to, because that applies to any week, really. About halfway through the week, I'd probably pick up Rondo sometime around the 8th or the 9th of next week.
A couple players that I'd like to ask you who you'd rather have for the rest of the season, that Rajon Rondo or this person. Ready?
All right, let's do it.
Rajon Rondo or Patrick Beverley?
Rest of the season, huh?
Yep. So you got to miss 2 weeks of Rondo, or you can have Patrick Beverley for maybe the rest of the season. I don't know. Maybe he gets hurt at some point. Maybe Rondo gets hurt again. You never know, right?
Yeah. I think this is a pretty good question. Patrick Beverley's been playing really well, but not only that, Patrick Beverley is a starter, and you know what?
And scoring more than he's ever scored, right?
I think I'm taking Patrick Beverley here because Rondo is hit or miss. A lot of times, and Pat Bev has seemed to be pretty consistent so far this year.
And here's the thing I'll say about Rondo too: he's a 3-category guy, and he gives you not much else in the rest of the categories.
It hurts you really in a couple.
Right, that's what I mean. He's great assists, right, and great steals, and pretty darn good rebounds for a point guard. But his 9 points and not even a 3 a game and no blocks and terrible percentages don't help you. And then obviously he's a ball dominant point guard, so his assists are like 3 a game. And I mean, obviously that's not killer, but then you got guys, who get less than 1 a game. So it's a significant amount.
We talked about this yesterday, kind of where scoring is up, 3-pointers are obviously up. Everybody's aware of that, but scoring is up this year too. And someone like Rondo, who was maybe valuable 3 years ago, even when he wasn't scoring or hitting that many threes and missing a lot of free throws. You put him in the league now and you start looking at the way he ranks against other waiver wire players, and it might not be terribly worth it. 9 points isn't bearable really anymore because you got guys on the waiver hitting 15. Malik Monk hit 25 the other night.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. So here's another one: Rajon Rondo or Nick Batum. Batum is out 2 to 3 weeks, right? They announced that yesterday.
Yeah. I'd rather have meant Nick Batum. I just think his ceiling is much higher as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think Batum, once he gets back and healthy, right, he's probably a top 50 player, whereas I don't think Rondo is, unless you have a very specific build that you're building around where you're punting some categories where Rondo stinks at. I think Batum could be really good, and I think now is the time to sell high on one Kemba Walker, right?
I don't think so.
Kemba's been awesome though. Like if you can trade Kemba for Draymond Green.
It's a strange trade, but I see what you're saying. This Kemba Walker is definitely probably playing at his highest usage right now, but I'm a pretty big fan of Kemba Walker. He's doing what Kemba Walker does. So I don't think he takes a huge hit when Nick Batum comes back. Nick Batum doesn't really need the ball in his hands, doesn't take a ton of shots away from Kemba Walker. So I'm not too worried about Kemba Walker's value being destroyed by Nick Batum.
I think that Kemba Walker easily loses half assist. I don't think Kemba Walker is a 25-point-a-game scorer like he's been doing this year. I don't think Kemba Walker shoots 48%. So I definitely think you sell high on Kemba Walker if you can sell him for Damian Lillard. He was basically an end of the second or third round player in my book. If you can sell him for a high second round player like a Lillard or someone like that, Kyrie Irving, John Wall.
I'm with you there.
Jimmy Butler might be the
Kemba,
perfect one, right?
yeah, Jimmy Butler, all those guys who were in the top middle of that second round, all those guys would be worth moving Kemba Walker for one of those guys for sure. That's just selling high on Kemba Walker. That's not selling high on Kemba Walker because Nick Batum's coming back. That's just getting rid of Kemba Walker when he's playing out of his mind.
Well, that's what I mean. I mean, I'm not saying that. I mean, Nick Batum, people will say that's what caused it, but it's not really that. It's just that Kemba Walker's playing over Kemba Walker's head right now.
Yeah, he's playing great. I actually think
the guy to sell high on because Nick Batum's coming back is Jeremy Lamb.
Yeah, Jeremy Lamb's probably, well, you know, who's going to play the 2 when Batum comes back? Wouldn't it still be Jeremy Lamb?
No, Nick Batum will play the 2. Kid Grokus will just slot in there at the 3 when he gets healthy enough to and quits getting sick and doing whatnot.
Kid Grokus is terrible.
Yeah, but the difference is Kid Grokus is a good defender, and I don't think Lamb is.
No, Jeremy Lamb is a pretty bad defender. Yeah, Jeremy Lamb takes the hit here.
Yeah, Jeremy Lamb goes to what, like a 15-minute game, maybe 20. I mean, like he's gonna lose significant minutes when Batum comes back. So I think now's the time that you try to sell him for anything you can get, right? I mean, I don't even think he's really ownable once Nick Batum comes back.
Yeah, I doubt it. In fact, if they want to bring in someone who could score off the bench, they're probably just going to bring in Malik Monk. So
that's what I mean. I mean, like there could be nights where he's out of the rotation because they play Monk and some of those other guys, and he just doesn't really get. I mean, he gets like 8 minutes. I mean,
yeah, this is the time to get rid of Jeremy Lamb, like right now, very, very soon. And then on the flip side of that, on the Pelicans with Rondo coming back, Etuan Moore probably takes the huge drop from playing 31 minutes a game and being somewhat decent to just being a bench player. So I'm not sure you can get too much for Etuan Moore, but someone on this team you probably could get some value out of, even though sadly he did not play well enough to really merit a Kemba Walker situation where you can sell high. Drew Holiday, I'd just sell him to sell him because Rondo is going to just completely ruin Drew Holiday's value.
So you want to meld it into some Twitter questions we got or some questions we got from listeners? Because mine involves Mr. Drew Holiday.
So this is what we want to start doing here near the end of the week is if you guys have questions you'd like us to answer on the show, feel free to tweet at us. You can tweet at Tyler at Watsy4444, and you can tweet at me at WatchTheBoxes. So let's do some listener tweets.
All right, so I got this question just today.
Sure.
And it was, he wanted to trade his Drew Holiday and TJ Warren for Chris Paul.
His Drew Holiday and TJ Warren for Chris Paul. I think you have to do that if they're going to say yes.
That's what I said. I said that's a slam dunk for me. Okay, Drew Holiday is going to lose value when Rondo comes back and play the 2 guard. Which, I mean, is Drew Holiday really a 2 guard? I don't think he's a great 2 guard. TJ Warren is locked in the minute split with Mr. Josh Jackson, right? Where like
and right now he's shooting well. He's getting a lot of sexy points, right? And people love it when someone scores 30 points. They're like, ooh, that guy's going to be good, right? It's like, yeah, sometimes guys score 30 points. Especially TJ Warren.
Well, and TJ Warren, right, is just a high efficiency scorer. He always kind of has been. But I mean, what else has he really given you? Now the steals and the blocks have been good so far this year, but I don't really think that holds too much. And so, I mean, I'm not a huge TJ Warren guy, especially in 28 minutes a night. And I think as the season goes on, Josh Jackson probably plays more and TJ Warren plays less just because Phoenix is slowly going to creep out of the race.
TJ Warren's a standard league player.
Yeah, but I mean, we're talking about Chris Paul, who could easily be a top 10 player.
Yes, I'm definitely not arguing this trade. Chris Paul.
Is TJ Warren a top 100 player this year? Yes, no. At the end of the season.
At the end of the season.
I'm going to say no.
Ooh. I'm going to say
he's ownable, but he's one of the last 3 players on he's a bench guy on our standard league team.
Well, I've been saying scoring is up, so maybe that, that doesn't pull as much leverage as it used to. I'm actually going to say yes.
Okay, but you're saying back end of that, right? Like you're not saying
Yeah, I'm not saying like top
75.
No, I'm saying like, is he going to be 80, 90? Yeah, I think
Okay.
that's where it is. He's going to be over 100.
And is Drew Holiday a top 50 player at the end of the season?
No.
Yeah, and you're buying a top 10 player. And this is what I said swung the trade to slam dunk status for me. Basketball Monster, our friends over there, say Chris Paul is returning on the 11th. Now,
That is
even if he
interesting because
misses
that is the first I've heard that.
even if he misses another week from that, though, like if he's back by the middle of this month in like 2 weeks, I'd definitely rather have him than Drew Holiday and TJ Warren in a standard league.
Yeah, 100%. And even if he comes back in 2 weeks and he doesn't look that good, oh, I can't wait because I'm definitely going to be sending out trades for Chris Paul if he comes back and doesn't look very good.
Oh, I'm with you there.
He'll figure it out. Like he's freaking Chris Paul. He gets hurt every single year for a little while, and he comes back and he looks either okay or great, and then he eventually is great again. Like he is his value comes from his ability to play make. He's never been like John Wall, I cross you over and go right by you type of player. He's just making better decisions than everyone else and changing direction really well. So as long as he's healthy enough to do that, I'm not worried about Chris Paul.
I'm not worried about Chris Paul one little bit. I mean, he might have some struggling games when he comes back, just readjusting.
Yeah.
But I mean, after that, I think he's going to be Chris Paul.
All right. I got another listener question. This was a little bit more interesting. Because I think that was, like you said, slam dunk on that one. Good for that guy. This is a 10-man standard league, so somewhat shallower of a league. Vujovic for Ingram and Gary Harris.
Wow.
Brandon Ingram's looked pretty good over the last few games. Gary Harris is starting to put it together.
This is a really hard trade to answer without knowing the teams, right? Because Gary Harris and Vujovic are going to do two completely different things.
All of these questions need context, and I think that's one of the hardest things to articulate and get across because it's almost like you got to do a report on a team to answer a simple question. What does your team need? What does your team look like? What does the other team need?
And especially on Twitter, right? Like it's so hard with
it's 120
characters.
Hey, we're all going to get 280, right? So maybe it'll be a little easier.
So here's my question for you to start this one off. Brandon Ingram, a standard league ownable player? Yes, no.
Only right now,
130 people own in a 10-man league. Would Brandon Ingram be one of your 130 men?
You know, for his upside, I think I would want him at the end of my bench right now. So that's a different question than saying is he going to finish in the top 30 versus should he be owned in a 130 person league? Because in a 130 person league right now today, I'd like to take the opportunity that maybe he ends up putting together in the next month or so.
But he's your last person that you're keeping owned, right? I mean,
yeah, he's like someone like when I'm pissed off at him, I'm gonna stream him,
right?
And then if he's starting to look good, I'll bring him back on the team,
right? And your 13th man is probably like just a streaming spot that you kind of move in and out every single day.
Here's why I kind of secretly like Brandon Ingram, even though I really feel like he has a long way to go. Is because there's a distinct potential that he could be above average in every category other than free throw, obviously.
Well, and field goal. He's not going to shoot a good percentage, I don't think.
No, I'm actually see. That's what I'm really surprised at is because you see guys like Ben Simmons and Giannis who use their length.
If Brandon Ingram
easy baskets, and Brandon Ingram doesn't do any of that.
So I mean, if Brandon Ingram pissed off the 3-point shot and just said, "I'm not shooting those anymore," like those guys do, pretty much.
Yeah,
he could do it, but he's not going to.
Yeah, and that's what kind of baffles me because you're seeing it work for both of those dudes, and Brandon Ingram is not taking the hint. Luke Walton isn't coaching him to do that. He's got a long way to go, but like I said, I'm only taking a flyer here because of his potential. If I had to put money on whether he would be a top 130 player this season, I'm going to say no.
So who's got the higher value for the rest of the season, Vucevic or Harris? That's the question.
I mean, so yeah, really. I guess that's the real question, because Ingram you could take him or leave him. So you're really trading Vooch for Harris, and I actually think it's with Vujovic hitting threes. I think it's him.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I think, and I said this a lot in the preseason, where I think Vujovic can easily be a top 40 player. And he might even be somewhere in that 30s range. I don't think Harris gets quite that high. Now, you're throwing in Ingram on that side, so maybe that kind of evens it out. But it really comes down to what you need, right? I mean, if
you're getting Vooch, this is a good trade. If not, I think you got to pass.
Here's the thing, like, I mean, what is Harris really going to be better than Vujovic in, other than, I mean, not even free throw percentage, perhaps? I mean, maybe they shoot a similar free throw percentage. Maybe Harris is better in that. And steals? I mean, those are the only two things. Right? Yeah. Vujovic gets more blocks, he gets more points, he gets more rebounds. They get like the same assists. 3-pointers, obviously, Harris is going to be a little better.
Sure.
So we're talking about 2-3 categories, and Vujovic pretty much has the rest.
Plus, centers, rebounds are hard to get.
Yeah, and Vujovic has the ability to get you like 10.
Yeah.
I mean, he might not do it. He might only get you 9, but
I'm not complaining.
Yeah, me neither. I think I definitely want Vujovic over Gary Harris, so that's the way I'm leaning on that.
I'm on board with that synopsis. All right, you got another one? I got a few more.
All right, go ahead.
Rest of the season. I'm gonna say this wasn't stated, but I'm guessing a 9 cat. If you're not gonna say anything, I'm gonna guess 9 cat that you're not punting anything. Nerlens Noel or Domantas Sabonis the rest of the season. Kind of a good question.
Yeah, and maybe not even a great standard league question. I mean, both these guys could see their value drop below that kind of cut line even.
That's I think this is why this question is actually pretty interesting, because both of these guys could be standard league relevant. They both could be outside of standard league relevancy. One guy, Nerlens Noel, has the talent, like the higher ceiling, but his ability to get minutes per game, I think, is lower than Sabonis's. Sabonis's ceiling is not as high, but he's going to get the more minutes. I think this is pretty much of a very strange toss-up. They're like exact opposite.
Yeah, so I'm going to have to go for Sabonis just because I think he's going to get more minutes. Now, Noel probably gets you the better defensive stats.
Yeah, Noel's the better fantasy player. If all things were equal, they're both playing 30 minutes a game. This is not a question.
I mean, Noel's not hurt, right? I mean, he's been healthy this year, playing 19.1 minutes through 9 games.
Yeah.
And he's getting you 6.9 points, not even a half an assist, 6 rebounds. Now the steals and the blocks are both 0.8, which you like to see. No 3-pointers. I mean, the percentages are good, but there's just nothing there. There's no volume to keep those percentages making a real big impact. I mean, I think you got to go with Sabonis at this point and just ride him while he's getting a lot of minutes. And if the minutes shift, then maybe you don't want either one. Maybe you want somebody else on the waiver wire, depending on how deep or shallow the league is.
One thing I'm a little concerned about Sabonis is what does he look like with Miles Turner in that lineup? And we're about to find out coming this week, or I don't know if it's the next game or if it's going to be next week. We already talked about Turner. I'm not sure those two can play together. If they can, now I'm a little bit on Sabonis. But if they can't, rest of the year, Sabonis ends up being a standard bench player. which is basically what Noel is. And Noel has the potential to be a better across the board fantasy player. And eventually you would think Noel is going to get starters minutes. Dallas is not.
Really?
Dallas is in a full. Why wouldn't he?
I don't think
there is absolutely no damn reason for Dirk Nowitzki to be playing the second half of this season.
Yeah, but I think he pissed them off enough by not accepting the $72 million contract or whatever it was that they offered him that I think they might play dudes like Jonathan Motley and Dwight Powell and Maxi Kleber and just throw poop at the wall, man, and just say,
I'm
you're
not
getting 20
sure
minutes.
What kind of, shenanigans the Dallas front office is pulling. My guess is they can always throw like, hey, we're just trying to tank right now.
Here's what I'll say.
Trying to be worse than the Bulls, that's all.
They sucked last year and he got 22 minutes a game for them.
Yeah, that's true.
Why would he get more than that? You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't see Noel getting enough minutes in that situation to be super standard league fantasy relevant, right? Like, that's the numbers I read are streaming numbers.
But he is standard league fantasy relevant if he's playing like 24 minutes a game.
I'm with you there. I wish they'd give it to him.
I don't know why he can't play 24 minutes a game.
Because they don't want him to. That's the only reason. I mean, to be honest,
I'd just go home then. Pull a Bledsoe.
You know
go
what I mean?
home. If the team that signed you doesn't want you to play, screw off.
That's part of his problem too, right? Is he's kind of petulant. I mean, that's what got him thrown off the Sixers and traded away. Was he was crying that he didn't get big minutes.
Well, I'll trade Bobby Portis straight up for Nerlens Noel right now.
And someone's going to pay this dude, right? Or he's just not going to play. He's going to like go over season play.
Well, I thought that's kind of what was wild is that no one paid him. He was just sitting there.
Here's the thing. They offered him like, what was it? Like 3 years, 72 million, 4 years, 72 million. And he turned it down because he says he's a max contract player. Like no one's giving you a max contract, bro.
He's got a bad agent. Apparently.
And that's what I mean. So, I mean, if you want to own Nerlens Noel in his 19 minutes, I mean, there's worse players to own, especially if you need steals and blocks. Sure. But I mean, I'm not super excited to own him in a standard league.
All right, I got one more. Well, I got a lot more actually, but one more that I actually want to talk about because this ties into some news that happened recently. Apparently, Tristan Thompson is going to be out for another month, and Jay Crowder is apparently entering the starting lineup, which I actually think will be kind of interesting and good for the is going to play more minutes, going to be in the starting lineup. Jay Crowder, drop Wilson Chandler and pick up Jay Crowder now that Tristan Thompson is out for a month. Is Jay Crowder now a standard relevant player?
Didn't we see this movie like just a few weeks ago when he was starting to begin with? I mean, I don't know. And here's what I'll say. What is this rotation going to look like? Is Jay Crowder going to get 30 minutes? I'm
guessing since there is no defensive identity on this Cavs team, is that Jay Crowder has to become the dumpster fire Draymond for this Cavs team.
And I mean, that's what I mean. If you're telling me he's going to get 30 minutes, of course he's standard league relevant, I think. But I mean, he's had 3 games that I'd want to own so far this season. And he started in the starting lineup at the beginning of the season. So, I mean, 3 out of what? 9? 3 out of 8 isn't too many.
Don't throw that small sample size crap at me. Jay Crowder is a standard league relevant player if he's playing starters minutes.
Yeah, and they're still adjusting, right? We talk about this a lot, right?
I'm with you. Like we don't know what that rotation is. We don't. I'm willing to take a flyer on Jay Crowder simply because I know he's a standard league relevant player when he plays 30 minutes. If I take a flyer on him right now, he's better than Wilson Chandler when it comes to standard league.
And Wilson Chandler, I mean, is always kind of just a fringy standard league guy anyway. Yeah. So I mean, if it's Wilson Chandler and him, yeah. Now, if we're going to be a top 100 player, I'm on the fence about that just because I don't know how many minutes he gets for the length of the season.
Yeah, so why not take a flyer right now, see what happens, let it play out, run with him for a week or so. If things are looking good, hey, great pickup. If they're not, all right, there's your next streaming guy. Who cares?
I'm with you on that. Yeah, I'm just worried it's going to be the 25 minutes he's been getting and not 32 that he needs to be standardly relevant.
Worth the
worth the pickup though. I'm with you.
the taking a chance.
I'm 100% behind you. I mean, because he's shown us, right? He can be like a top 75, top 80 player. Right? We don't have to squint our eyes and think, can he do it? He's already shown us he can.
Yeah, definitely. All right, what do you got out there?
Oh man, okay. There is one guy I do kind of want to talk about.
Okay.
And it is one Mr. Seth Curry. Now,
Ooh.
they're saying next Wednesday he's back. So all my rumblings are hearing. So we talk about, right? The week thing is already gone. It's less than a week. He's 45% owned in Yahoo leagues. Do you want him?
In a standard league, I think this is a similar situation as Jay Crowder, right? And I think I'd rather take a flyer on Jay Crowder simply because I think the Cavs are desperate to try something new. And Seth Curry with this injury, which was a little bit, it's one of those injuries that lingers, and it's one of those injuries that he might not come back, playing full minutes and at full speed. It might take Seth Curry a little while to get back into playing shape, along with the fact that they got plenty of guards on that team.
I think your thing you said earlier nailed the reason why I think Seth Curry might only be a streamer in 12-team leagues this year. Points are up. You keep saying it.
Points are up. He's a points guy. He hits threes. He gets points.
He's a points and threes.
He's pretty good at that. He's pretty good at that.
Okay, so in 29 minutes a game last year, which, I mean, okay, he probably gets that, but he doesn't.
Yeah, I think eventually, once he's settled in, that's what he's going to be.
Right, but I don't think he gets 35 with that guard depth, and maybe if injuries come about, then the narrative changes, okay?
I mean, JJ was injured last year. That's kind of why he was playing.
Right, percentages are great. If you play in a 3-point percentage league, that makes this guy a ton more valuable because he's going to shoot a great 3-point percentage. But 2 threes, 2.6 rebounds, 2.7 assists, almost no blocks, 1.1 steal, 12.8 points. What about that sounds super enticing to you?
It's one of those things where 14 points and 2 3-pointers don't really cut it. Right?
Right.
And so if that's what he's going to get this year, so like you're saying 13 and 2, it's not really going to cut it. What helps him, what pushes him over the edge maybe of some of those other guys who just get points and threes off the waiver wire is the one full steal a game and not embarrassing, like not 0 assists, like 3 assists is surprisingly a lot better than like 1.1. It doesn't seem like it would be, but it definitely is.
And I talk about that a lot when it comes to drafting, right? Incremental gains matter. So if he gets you 2 more assists than somebody, that adds up over the length of 13 players. Right?
Also the percentages. So if you're in a 9-cat league, you care about most of the categories, or if you're in a roto league.
He's definitely a better roto player, right? I mean, we can definitely say that.
Oh yeah, definitely. I think that's pretty blatant. But I agree with you, like, this isn't exciting. He's a top 100 guy because he of the percentages and the turnovers, but the 2 threes and 13 points. That's that. Who isn't getting that these days?
I'd like to throw some names at you, see who you'd rather have.
Wow. All right, this is the Who Would You Rather podcast is turning into. I like it.
One of our personal favorites, Mo Harkless.
Oh, why can't you be Mo Harkless? Why can't you be Mo Harkless? This would have been if Mo Harkless was my co-host
for Halloween. Don't tell anyone.
That's a great costume. I think I'd rather go Seth Curry right now because I know Mo Harkless is more of a 9-cat across the board. He's getting that block. It's hard to get those blocks. Is Al-Farouq Amino? Do we know if he's out?
They said tonight out at least a couple of games. Don't know what that means.
All right, I'll take Mo Harkless this week. Well, obviously Seth Curry's not even playing, but I think I'm just a little bit more interested in Seth Curry. I think it's pretty close.
I'm taking Mo Harkless.
You love Mo Harkless.
I just think he's better than Seth Curry. Kentavious Caldwell-Pope or Seth Curry?
Oh, I don't even know what to make of Caldwell Pope. What is his deal? Is he a person?
He is a real person. I'm
Is he a
pretty
real
sure.
person? I've never seen him in person.
Come on now,
So
you had to have gone to a Detroit Pistons Chicago Bulls game in your life.
I avoided the Pistons like the plague. Um, Probably, man, this is pretty close too. Probably Caldwell Pope because he can do similar things. You know, he can hit. If you look at his rankings from last season, he's going to get you the points and threes that Seth Curry does, but he's not going to give you that field goal percentage. He's actually kind of similar. I might actually go back to Seth Curry on this one.
Yeah, he's going to give you more steals, though, I think.
I'm going with Seth Curry.
But he's going to give you less threes and points and less worse percentages. Now, he does give you more rebounds. So maybe that's what you're looking for.
I'm on the Seth Curry bandwagon. Get out of here, Caldwell Pope.
All right, how about JJ Redick?
Oh, my boy JJ. He's getting healthy. I got a soft spot
It's
for JJ
Redick for
Redick.
me.
He's won me a lot of leagues, but his JJ. Yeah, I think I have to go JJ Redick. I think it's actually kind of close because sometimes JJ is a bit of an afterthought in the Philly offense, it seems. And I know he has been out a couple games, right? And he's just getting right back in the swing of things. And he's also had some pretty good games, and he's getting a lot more playing time. So I'm gonna go with JJ.
And right, he's another guy, right? The shooting's just been a little bit poor. He got that little nick of an injury, and then now he's come back, getting the same
lower
shots.
Back. I don't like those back injuries.
Getting pretty much the same shots though he's gotten with the Clippers. So you got to figure he's probably going to be similar points to what he got with the Clippers once he gets fully healthy.
I feel like they could utilize him a little bit better because he's doing a lot of hang around the perimeter, spot up shooting, which obviously JJ Redick is very good at. But JJ's really good at running off of screens, catching and shooting. And it doesn't seem like they run a lot of those types of make the defender chase JJ around 23 screens for the next 18 seconds and then shoot a fadeaway long two, which, by the way, it's not a very good percentage shot, I guess. So I get why they're not doing that exact play. But if you can get him open for a three, I think he could be utilized a little bit better. But the minutes are there for JJ, and that's why I'll take JJ over Seth Curry.
Patrick Beverley or Seth Curry?
I'm on that Pat Bev bandwagon right now. I'm taking Pat Bev.
I'm with you. I just think that Seth Curry's value, I think some people overvalue him, right? I don't know if it's the Curry name or what. I think some people think like, oh, this guy's
the
like
Curry name.
It's like a top 75, top 80 player, and I don't know that he is. I would probably try to.
Once you know why people think that is
because some of these other guys.
If you look at a player rater, if you look at a 9-cat across the board, you know, last year he was in that top 70, top 80 because of his percentages, because of his turnovers.
He just doesn't really hurt you anywhere, right? I mean, other than blocks, he doesn't get any blocks, but a lot of guards don't get any blocks.
That's true. I'm not picking up Seth Curry for the blocks, obviously. So I'm not too worried about guards getting blocks.
That's what I mean. Every other category, he's just like decent. He does a little bit. Yeah, I just think that sometimes he gets overvalued. So maybe once he comes back, has a good game or two, I like to move him for some of these other guys who I just like a little bit more. Joe Ingles. I'd rather have Joe Ingles than him, I think.
So I'd actually like to do a little to end the show, a little buy low, sell high. Let's throw a handful of names out there, and it doesn't have to be buy low, sell high. It could be like, is this guy for real? This guy not for real? You know, is he peaking? So we kind of already talked about, you know, the fact that Otto Porter and Kemba Walker are probably peaking right now, and that they're not really bad players, but they're definitely peaking. And one guy I wanted to ask you about is someone that you were on, and I would say I'm not going to go back and listen to the tapes because I gotta finish that Ken Burns Vietnam series, but some very uplifting television. But I think we were pretty on with a lot of players in this preseason, and this is one of the guys you were on, and that's Steven Adams. He's killing it right now.
I love me some Steven Adams.
I know you do. And so right now, Steven Adams is actually one of the top centers, which is a dying position, by the way. You got guys like Anthony Davis who can't be center eligible because he's got Boogie playing the center,
That's just ridiculous in my mind, but we won't talk about position eligibilities today.
No, we won't. One of the banes of my existence. Why isn't this guy a forward? I don't know. Does it look like I work for ESPN?
I love that too, right? They think that we can change it, just hack into their system and go, okay, there you go.
Start a writing campaign to the ESPN. By the way, a friend of mine does send emails to ESPN about position eligibility, and I don't think it was him who got someone changed a year ago that really helped him out in his in our league, which really kind of turned the tables because he took a guy off a bench and put it on his roto team, and it's kind of BS. And so we do think he might know someone that he's started a relationship with ESPN who runs the eligibility. So start a writing campaign. Why not?
Hit up old Tom Carpenter on Twitter.
Yeah, so it's a good idea.
So Mr. Steven Adams, I love him.
Yeah,
but he's the 24th ranked player for the season, according to Yahoo and 9 categories.
That's pretty good.
That's not sticking around, though.
No, well, hold on. Let's dive a little deeper into the world of Steven Adams.
Now, here's okay. You want me to go, or you going to ask me questions?
I'll just ask you a few questions.
All right, go ahead.
Certainly, he is averaging 68%, which is not sustainable, but 60% is sustainable.
Fact.
So he's getting in one more shot a game, but he has better players on his team who can find him. Well,
and he gets a lot of dunks and putbacks, right?
Yeah.
Paul George shoots a 3 and misses it, and he gets a rebound and puts it home. 4.9 offensive rebounds per game so far this year.
Yeah. Last year, he averaged a block and a steal. This year, he's averaging 1.3 blocks and 1.4 steals.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, is it possible he's playing a little bit more? Right?
He's playing actually he's only playing 1 minute more than last year on average, right? He's scoring a few more points. He's getting 1.5 more shots, and he's not going to turn the ball over. And so that's kind of what I'm getting at is it sustainable? Well, he's ranked 24th because of his incredibly high field goal percentage, his solid rebounding, and his close to 1.5 steals, 1.5 blocks. If anything, that's the part that maybe sneaks down a little bit. But would you complain with 60%, 1-1 with 9 rebounds and 14 points?
This is my point. Not sustainable, but not a sell high guy probably, because I think you're not going to get the price that's going to be his value for the rest of the season. I think this dude could be a top 50 player, and I don't think you're going to get that.
He is 24 years old, so it does make sense that he is improving slightly at most things. He's getting more time on the court because Enes Kanter got moved. He's got better players around him. And I think you hit on something real important, is that he's not a sexy name, so no one's going to go, ooh, Steven Adams? Yeah, I'll trade you Al Horford for Steven Adams. No one's going to do that.
Yeah, and I think he's a guy you could maybe buy high, if that's a thing, and just say, oh, I don't believe in this start, right? Neither do you. Give him someone close to where his draft day value was in like the 70s or 80s, and maybe get a nice little bargain there.
Yeah, that could be one of those. Obviously, buy low, sell high is what we always preach. But when you play with guys who obviously know, who aren't fantasy beginners, who will go, yeah, of course, buy low, sell high. This is a good time to sell Steven Adams because he's ranked 24th. Well, we just told you why. He's ranked 24th. There's some outliers with his percentages, right? But overall, his stats aren't going to significantly drop. His rank will, right? But what he's producing in those categories really won't. And it's really you're buying at an adequate price, which is not a very good phrase. It needs to be a sexier. Buy at an adequate price is a great strategy for fantasy basketball.
Yeah, so I'm with you there. All right, I got another big man.
Who is it?
You ready for it?
Who it is?
It is one Mr. Brook Lopez.
Oh, busted old Brook.
23 minutes a game for Brook. And
What's
the Lakers are doing this kind of weird. If you've watched any Lakers games, it seems to me like they're doing a hockey thing where they're playing lines almost.
I try not to watch a lot of Lakers basketball. Not interesting.
Brook Lopez only plays the beginnings of halves, it seems like, and then late in the fourth quarter, he just never sees the court again because we have to play the great front court of Kyle Kuzma and Julius Randle.
Yeah, that's a strange predicament. Is there any news out of LA that Brook Lopez is hurt?
No, he's not hurt. He's fine. He's played in every game.
I have not seen any news
he's
about
just
that.
Not getting any minutes.
Yeah.
And I think that part of the reason his percentages are not good, other than his free throw percentage, but his 3-point and field goal percentage he's frustrated that he's only getting 23 minutes when he's Brook Lopez, and everyone knows he's a great player.
This is something we're going to have to monitor, right? I know that Brook Lopez, I don't have Brook Lopez on any of my teams, which is why I don't have a hardcore opinion about Brook Lopez right now. If I owned him, I'd be real pissed off. But you can't sell here. So I guess if anything, this is a buy. This has to be a buy low situation. This guy's a top 50 player.
But is he in 23 minutes?
Well, no, but why in the world would he play 23 minutes for the rest of the season?
It's the last year of his contract, and they want to play Julius Randle and Kyle Kuzma and Larry Nance. That's my worry. Is I don't know that the minutes are going to go up. And tonight, which was nice to see, looks good.
Well, it's certainly not like they're trying to win games.
He's played 29, 32, and 29 in 3 of the games. The other games, 18, 23, 24, 18, 21.
I don't think there's a world where you're gonna piss off legitimately the best player on your team by playing him 23 minutes a night. If I had to guess, Brook Lopez will average 29 minutes by the end of the season.
And he's a great buy low, especially if you can get him for a bench player on your roster, right? Some for owners are just going to be super frustrated. And he's already down at 96% in Yahoo League. So 4% of people have already dropped him.
Yeah, people are fickle.
So, and maybe someone's panicking, or maybe you just have someone who's off to a hot start. I don't know, Jason Tatum. Would you trade Jason Tatum to get Brook Lopez?
Yeah, definitely.
And you know what I mean? And you got Jason Tatum probably for relatively free. And now you got a shot at a top 50 player if he can just get minutes. And you just got to hope that Luke Walton gives him the minutes.
That's that right there is the key, is the minutes and Luke Walton. And as we know, Luke Walton likes to spread those minutes around, give everybody ample playing time. Everybody's playing upper 20s. We'll see how that goes. It does that does worry me a little bit. But if you like you're saying, into the bench guy or a bench guy for Brook Lopez is a no-brainer.
Yeah, right. And I think you can make that move in some leagues. Now, if you're in a league with a lot of really smart guys, maybe not. But then don't buy Brook Lopez. If you can't buy him for a cheap price, don't buy him.
Yeah, it's a buy low situation. It's not a buy at a proper. It's not a buy at an adequate price situation.
I'm exactly 100% behind you. All right, I got one more big man, and I want to know if you'd rather have this guy or Brook Lopez for the rest of the year. It's Nusif Nurkic, the Portland man. 269th so far this season by Yahoo's rankings, Mr. Nurkic, in 9 category leagues because he's turning the ball over like crazy.
He's a buy low.
So would you rather have Lopez or him?
Lopez.
I think I might rather have him.
I don't know.
Just because he's getting more minutes already. And I think those minutes probably only go up. He's shooting terrible percentages.
I just don't think his I think Brook Lopez's ceiling is higher than Nurkic's ceiling. Now, Nurkic had a breakout game this evening, 28 points, 5 assists, 5 rebounds, 3 steals. Off to a, like you said, really, really slow start.
I might actually argue that the other way, in the sense that if he could do his Portland numbers from last year, he got 10 rebounds, which would smash Brook Lopez. He gets you 3 assists, which is better than Brook Lopez. He gets you 1.3 steals, which is better than Brook Lopez. He got 1.9 blocks, which is what Brook Lopez can do. And
it's the percentages and the 3-pointers that he's not going to give you, and he does seem to turn the ball over a lot for someone who should not be turning the ball over a lot.
But aren't steals, rebounds, and blocks harder categories to get than points
and 3-pointers?
3-pointers.
Yeah, that is pretty true. I think you're making a compelling case. I still think I like Brook Lopez overall. But I think you're making a compelling case that Nurkic might be someone better.
Yeah, and I'm definitely I am definitely on the buy Nurkic low train. Now the question is, how low can you buy him?
As low as humanly possible. After tonight, not anymore. But before tonight, would have been a nice buy low.
I'll throw some names at you though that I think you might be able to make the move for. Serge Ibaka or Nusif Nurkic.
Serge Ibaka is nice and boring and consistent.
I'd rather have Nurkic.
I don't know. In a 9-category Roto League, I might go Ibaka. Head-to-head, I'd go Nurkic.
I'm with you there, 100%.
Just for the percentages.
Let me think here. Lauri Markkanen. He's been hot. 66th ranked player.
Don't do it to me.
You know what I'm saying? You might be able to do that. You might be able to sneak that in there.
I'm very impressed by Lauri Markkanen. He looks like a.
You're a truther, man.
He can shoot the ball. He's got a long way to go, but he can shoot the ball. He can score inside the 3-point arc, and he does look like he makes good decisions with the ball. I think Nurkic is just across the board a little bit better. And I'm worried about Lauri Markkanen being like a rookie. And then I'm also worried about Bobby Portis and Nico Mirotic screwing up his rotation. Actually, surprisingly, I'm saying it's a toss-up, but I guess I'm going to go Nurkic, but it's actually closer than I thought I would.
Your Bulls homerism. I love it. I love it.
No, I mean, look at what he's doing. It's 17 points is not something to scoff at. Three 3-pointers. 9 rebounds and a half a steal, a half a block.
I think most people know I write about the Kings, right, for a site called A Royal Pain, and I championed the entire draft process for the Kings to pick him at number 10 when the Kings had that 10th pick, and every Kings fan told me I was stupid. They said, I can't believe you want them to pick this guy. He's trash. He can't play defense, blah, 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 blah. And I kept trying to tell everyone in the world, This dude is a lot better player than you think. And most people told me I was stupid and I was dumb, and I don't hear him saying that anymore.
Nah, but sadly, on the flip side of that, there's a contingency of the mindless Bulls fans who are like, "Oh man, he's like Dirk but better, and he's one of the best players of all time." And I'm like, I haven't seen this dude make a fadeaway in anyone's face, and they're like, "Oh, you're an idiot. Check this out." And it's like, that is a clip from the Cleveland preseason game, and he made a fadeaway over Kyle Korver. And they're like, "That's not a preseason game, bro. That was when we played Cleveland." I'm like, look at the score. We were never up by 10 in the fourth quarter in the regular season, you freaking morons. So there's a lot. I'm not a truther. These losers out here trolling around on the Chicago Bulls subreddit. There's quite a few truthers out there, and they can really settle down a little bit. But Lauri Markkanen does look like he's going to be a starter in the NBA on a decent team.
All right, you got anybody you want to take us home with?
No, I think that's really it. I think we might as well just wrap it up.
All right, let's do it.
But first, well, hold on. I'll just do the promo here. Tyler, have you tried draft.com yet?
So here's what happened. I deposited my money, and then I realized that today was a 2-game slate, and I said, who wants to do a draft on a 2-game slate? No offense to anybody, right? It's NBA schedule makers but I will be making my debut on Friday if anyone wants to take me on.
Yeah. And if any of our listeners want to take either myself or Tyler on, tweet at us, signing up for draft.com with the promo code BOXES, BOXES, and we will make sure we get in touch with you on the app in order to win money from us, because draft.com allows you to play daily fantasy basketball every single night.
And not just basketball, right? You can play NFL if you're a fan. You can play some hockey, I think. You can play.
That's true. I think there's even golf on there.
That's right. Don't sell yourself short, man. If you're a fan of something else, you can play it all using our promo code BOXES.
Yeah, it all applies. And you can use your PayPal to deposit and withdraw, which I think is a really nice feature that they should probably sell a little bit more on their promos. And you can win cash. You can play every night. It's you do a snake draft with you can do it with head-to-head. You can do it with 3 people, 6 people, 10 people, even I think there's a couple of leagues that are a little bit bigger than that. And games start at just as low as $1.
And the cool thing is, right, the draft takes like minimal amount of time. You can draft
a couple minutes.
Like 5 minutes.
Yeah, that's it. And every night's a new draft. You don't really have to manage these teams. You draft a few guards, a few forwards, and a center, and you let it play out that night, and tomorrow's a new day. So it's daily fantasy basketball, but different because you're not going up against a bunch of people who everybody has Karl Anthony Towns, and everybody's got the same teams. No one could have the same team because you're actually in a snake draft to start every one of these nights.
And it's not like DFS where you have to do hours of research, right? Because there's so many players, right? Like if there's 10 people in your thing, you're picking 50 guys. So you only have 5 spots. Yep. So it's not, you only basically are looking at the real top end talent.
Yeah, you don't really have to, especially if you don't like to. You don't have to look for those guys who are $2,000 who are going to barely make your roster, right? You can go out and draft whoever you want. And
you're not putting Noah Vonleh in there, right? You're putting Steph Curry and the studs.
Just pro tip: just always draft Joel Embiid. Just do it. Even if he's not playing, just draft him.
Or don't draft him when he's hurt. If he gets hurt, don't draft him.
Don't draft him on the second part of a back-to-back, I guess, either. Do pay attention to that. But if you use the promo code BOXES, you will get a free entry into a draft when you make your first deposit on draft.com. You can go to draft.com on your web browser, or you can download the app. It is in Google Store and the iTunes proprietary store as well. So go do that today, and if you tweeted us that you used the boxes. We will give you the opportunity to take our money by playing against us on draft.com. So, yeah.
You'll take mine. I'm telling you, you'll take mine.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I'm going to take your money too, Tyler. We're going to have to play soon.
I'm excited for that.
So, yeah, I think that's it for tonight. If you like what we're doing and you like the podcast, do us a favor, leave us a good rating on iTunes or wherever you download this podcast. Give us a review. It really helps people find the podcast. And if you're in a fantasy league, I assume you are. If you're not in a fantasy basketball league and listening to this podcast, it's really weird. I appreciate it, but it's a strange hobby to have. But tell the people in your league about the podcast, other people who are interested in fantasy basketball. It really helps us out. It's one of the best things you can do to help spread the word of the show and help us continue to do what we're doing here today. Tyler, where can the people find you on Twitter?
You can find me at Watsy4444.
You can find me at Watch the Boxes. Feel free to tweet at us with things you'd like to hear on the show and feedback or even just questions about your league. So I think that's it for tonight, everybody. Enjoy your weekend and have a good one.